In this chapter, we're going to be looking at conditional probability. This is a really fascinating area of probability, and it can be related to all the other probability that we've looked at as well. It just massively broadens the sort of question that we can look at. Now, the first thing we're going to look at, in fact, before we start on the main conditional probability, is set notation. So in the pure course, we do look at something called set notation, and there are some connections, but there's basically a kind of convention about how we write probability statements, which we haven't really looked at so far. So let's start by looking at set notation. Okay, so we've got a bunch of Venn diagrams here, and I've shaded different regions, and I want us to think about how we could describe those regions. So this one here, this region here, is the technical term for that is the intersection. We also describe that as being the A and B part of the Venn diagram, because it's the bit where A is true and B is true. Now, how do we write A and B? Well, we were just doing it with words in year 12. But what we do now, and this is the set notation part, is we use this notation, A and B. So it's like a little sort of, sometimes people call it N. It's not really an N, it's more of a kind of upside down U. And that's the intersection symbol, A and B. So if we were talking about probabilities, we could say things like, what is the probability of A and B happening? So that's the intersection. Right, this one here, well, we want all of A and all of B and all of the intersection. This is A or B. Actually, I should write the words here, shouldn't I? So this one is A and B. This one here is A or B. Now the symbol for that is the union symbol, which is just the upside down version of the intersection symbol. It looks a bit like a U. Looks a lot like a U. A or B. And so if we were talking about probabilities, we would maybe say the probability of A or B. Now notice that this is called what we call an inclusive or. So it's A or B or both. People sometimes get confused and think it should be A or B but not both. But actually it's just the more common understanding, which is A or B or both. And if you think about it, that is the one we normally use. Like if I said, raise your hand if you are male or you have black hair. I mean, should I raise my hand? Yeah, I mean, I happen to be male and I have black hair. So yeah, raise my hand. It would be weird to say I'll keep my hand down since I'm both male and I have black hair. If it's A or B, male or black hair, then it includes both. Right, this one here. So this is everything apart from A. So this is described in sort of words would be not A. So here's how we describe the set notation. We use a little dash to represent that. This is also sometimes called the complement of A. So you will sometimes see A with a little C next to it. It means that everything that's not A. So again, if we were talking about probabilities, we might say the probability of not A. So that is all the stuff apart from A. All right, so really that's almost all of it now for set notation. Let's just look at how these three things, the intersection, the union, and the negation, the not, can be applied to slightly harder examples. All right, so how would we describe this green region here? So it's everything that's not this bit in the middle. Well, we've got a nice trick, which is, can you think how you describe all the stuff in the middle? Well, sure, we did it before. It's A or B. So what we want is not that, not A or B. So what we can do is we can say that this region is A or B would be the white bit in the middle. Pop some square brackets around that, and it's not that. Okay, so if you can describe the region that it isn't, just do that and then stick a not on the outside. So that is one of the ways you could describe this. What about this one? So this is B, but not the intersection. So it's B, but not A. So here the language is actually quite useful. So if I was describing this in words, I might say it's B, but not A. Now, in probability, what you're going to find is that the word but, it basically means the same as and. So we could replace this with B and not A, and it would sort of grammatically be correct. it would sound a bit unnatural spoken, but the kind of meaning of that word but in probability statements is basically the same as and. So this is B and not A. So in order to capture this region, it has to be B, and it also has to be not A. And that's why we don't have this, because this one's B and A, but this is the bit that's B and not A. All right, how do we capture the exclusive or? So A or B, but not both. Well, there's a number of ways that we could go about doing this, but I mean, you can kind of, again, use the language. We describe this as A or B, but not both. So A or B, but not both. So both would be A and B, and it's not that. So A or B, but not both. Of course, there are different ways of describing it. We could also, we've already seen how to get that green section over here, B and not A. So we could maybe say this one, an alternative way of describing this one would be B and not A, or A and not B. Okay, because that's the B and not A bit, and that's the A and not B bit. So this is one way to describe it. That's another way, and it turns out those are exactly the same. All right, let's have a look at some Venn diagrams with 3 regions. So how could we describe this here? I encourage you to pause the video and see if you can do it yourself. So imagine that we had all of this included as well. Well, that would just be A or C. So that would just be A or C if we included those dashed bits there. But we don't want B, so it's A or C, but not B. So and not B. So A or C, which would be all of these, but not B. What about this one? Well, we've definitely got all of C, so we can probably just go ahead and stick that in there. So definitely C, but we also want this as well. So we could actually say this is C or A but not B, because A but not B is this whole section there. That's A, but not anything in B. So we want all of that or all of C, and that seems to capture all of it. So you see these get really fiddly, and I've never seen an exam question where they just chuck one of these at you, but it is fun to play around. You do need to understand what the terminology means. All right, last little bit of terminology on the next page. All right, so suppose you had the following Venn diagram. So you've got A here, so that's A, and you've got B here, B, and you've got C here. So how could we describe A and C? Well, A and C do not intersect at all, right? They have no intersection. So you might remember the technical term for that is they are mutually exclusive. They don't both happen. So if that's ever the case, if two things just don't intersect at all, we describe that as being the empty set. And we have a symbol for that, which is a 0 with a line through it. So the empty set is like the set that contains nothing. Yeah, it's basically a way of saying it's not that it doesn't exist. It exists, it's just it's got nothing in it. So there's a concept of A and C, it's just there are no elements to that set. All right, that is set notation. Now that we've got that under our belts, let's look and see if we can do some probability calculations with this notation. Okay, so the table below shows the number of gold, silver and bronze medals won by 2 teams in an athletics competition. So notice I've deliberately picked one which is not a Venn diagram question, just to show that the terminology is flexible. It can be used in Venn diagrams and all sorts. So you've got Team A and Team C, and then it lists out how many gold, silver and bronze they've won. The events G, S and B are that a medal is gold, silver or bronze. That makes sense. let A be the event that Team A won a medal and C that Team C won a medal. A medal winner is selected at random. Find the probability of G. So we're going to select someone at random, find the probability that they won gold. Okay, well that's just, so this isn't really new terminology, is it? It's just the probability that someone won gold is the number of gold, so 29 plus 21, which is 50, divided by the number of competitors, which, is it told to us? Don't think it is. So 29 plus 21 plus 17 plus 23 plus 18 plus 17. So there were a total of 125 competitors. So the probability that someone won a gold is 50 divided by 125, which is 2/5 or 0.4, whatever is your favourite way of writing a probability. Okay, here comes the set notation. Find the probability of not A and S. All right, well, firstly, we'll see what is A and S. A and S was from Team A and won silver. So A and S is this, someone from Team A who won silver. So not A and S is just everything else. Well, I could add these up, or I could be sneaky and say if there are 125 competitors and I want to just get rid of the ones who are in Team A that won silver, I'd just do that, 125 minus 17. So there were 108 competitors who were not in the A and S group. So the probability of not A and S is 108 divided by 125. I'm sure this simplifies nicely. No, it does not. So I could leave it like that, or I could have it as a decimal. Okay, so that's how these probability, the set notation can crop up in a probability question. Okay, a bit more space. Explain, showing you're working, whether or not events S and A are statistically independent. So there's a little reminder of stuff from last year. So remember that two events are independent if the probability of S and A is the same as the probability of S multiplied by the probability of A. That is the test for independence. So what's the left-hand side? Well, the probability of S and A, that's the probability that someone wins a silver and is in Team A. So that is just 17 out of 125. So that's the probability of S and A. What about the right-hand side? What is the probability of S times by the probability of A? Well, the probability of S is just the probability that someone wins silver, which is all of these, which is 40 over 125, multiplied by the probability of A, which is just all of these, which is 29 plus 17 plus 18, which is 64 over 125. So what is that? 64 over 125 multiplied by 40 over 125 is 0.16384. Now, is that the same as this? 17 over 125 is 0.136. So no, they are not the same. So we can just say probability of S and A is not the same as probability of S times the probability of A, and therefore they are not independent. So remember, if you're ever proving that something is or isn't independent, it has to be shown mathematically like that, not just whether you think things are related. Next, determine whether or not events B and C are mutually exclusive. Give a reason for your answer. B is the event that someone wins bronze, and C is the event is that they were from Team C. Well, no, it's not mutually exclusive because it's possible. 17 people won bronze from Team C, so it was possible. And remember, the definition of mutually exclusive would be if probability of B and C is 0, but it's not. It's 17 over 125, which is not 0, and therefore it is not mutually exclusive. Okay, last question. Given that 30% of the gold medal winners are female, 60% of the silver medal winners are female, and 40% of the bronze medal winners are female, find the probability that a randomly selected medal winner is female. We better find out how many female winners there are. So if 30% of the gold medal winners are female, it's going to be 0.3 multiplied by the number of gold medalists, which is 29 plus 21, that's 50. So 0.3 times 50, so there were 15 female gold medal winners, and 60% of the bronze medal winners were female, so that's 0.6 times the number of silver medals. What did I put? B. I mean S for silver, gold, silver, bronze. Add these together and it's 40. So it's 60% of 40, which is 24. So there were 24 female silver medal winners. And for bronze, well, 40% of the bronze medal winners, and there were, well, add these together, it's 35. So 40% of 35 is 14. And so that's the number of female bronze medal winners. Add these up. 15 plus 24 plus 14, there were 53 medal winners who were female. So it says, find the probability the randomly selected medal winner is female. Well, it's just 53 divided by 125, because there are 125 competitors, and so our probability is 0.424. All right, there we go. We looked at set notation and sort of drifted through into another probability question in which that was used. So you can see that set notation is very often not the kind of centerpiece of a question, it just crops up in more general probability questions. Right, in the next video, we start with conditional probability. I will see you there.